Alright, so we've been speaking about this new border bill, or at least that's what they're calling it, the border security bill, but it's really a Ukraine funding bill. The media won't frickin' shut up about it, and now the media is reporting on chaos and screaming, division, discord within Republican ranks, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. That's what they keep saying. There's a whole lot of narrative, there's a whole lot of different people saying different things, but what I'm trying to find out is the truth. You know, the media keeps telling us that Donald Trump wants to kill the bill because he doesn't want to give Joe Biden a victory ahead of an election cycle, and his MAGA minions are simply doing his bidding. But what if that wasn't true? What if that was just yet again another left-wing bogus narrative? A media manufactured narrative? What if there's actual legitimate issues with this bill and the few neocon fossils that remain in the Senate? In other words, Mitch McConnell and his minions, what if those guys are trying to pull a fast one on you, essentially so they can continue to fund proxy wars in the American war machine while pretending to secure the border? Well, I guess that's the question of the day. Ted Cruz certainly seems to have an opinion. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so Dan Crenshaw's real angry, Mitt Romney's real angry, Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, very, very angry. What's the common denominator between those individuals? Well, they're a bunch of neocon rhinos who obviously don't represent the interest of the American people, but most importantly, their constituents, Republican voters. Chaos hits. Fox News reports screaming from behind closed doors of Republican Senate chamber during debate on border. Senate Republicans find themselves in a bit of a sticky situation as House GOP has followed the direction of former President Donald Trump, who is motivated by not giving President Joe Biden a significant win during an election year. Keep that in mind, that sentence there. That is fake news propaganda garbage. We'll debunk that later. And more moderate conservatives, like the editorial board Wall Street Journal, who are calling on passing generational legislation to secure the border. So essentially the report is that Republicans are fighting behind closed doors because Mitch McConnell and other Republican leaders want to pass this bill to secure the border, but Donald Trump doesn't want to because he needs the issue during the election. This is absolutely fake news. Let's have a conversation about this bill. Let's really get into the nitty-gritty here. The claim is that Donald Trump doesn't want Republicans to pass this bill because he needs the issue, right? Well, what if I told you that that's complete BS and the real reason why Donald Trump and many others don't want to pass this bill is because it's not actually a southern border security bill? Here is the breakdown of the spending. Where does the $118 billion in the U.S. Senate bill go? The U.S. Senate on Sunday unveiled a $118 billion bipartisan border security bill that would also provide aid to Ukraine and Israel. So I'm to understand that this is a bipartisan border security bill that also provides aid to Ukraine and Israel. Let's take a look at the breakdown in dollars spent. $2.4 billion spent on Red Sea conflicts, $4.8 billion spent in the Indo-Pacific, $10 billion goes to Gaza, $14.1 billion goes to Israel, $60 billion goes to Ukraine, and a measly $20 goes to the U.S. southern border. This is the bill that Democrats are saying is going to secure the southern border. This one. This is a Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, Red Sea, Indo-Pacific military spending bill that allocates less than 20% to the southern border. Are we starting to get the issue here? We're starting to understand, right? The issue isn't Donald Trump. The issue is Mitch McConnell for signing on to this absolute frickin' farce. Ted Cruz had some words to say.
Is it time for Mitch McConnell to go?
I think it is. Look, everyone here also supported a leadership challenge to Mitch McConnell in November. I think a Republican leader should actually lead this conference and should advance the priorities of Republicans. I can tell you what I said when we had that leadership election in November of 2022. It was right after a very disappointing election. 2022, the wind was at our back. It should have been a phenomenal Republican election year. Republicans should have won the Senate. We should have won a big majority in the House. Instead, we lost a seat in the Senate, and we barely got a majority in the House. And I stood up and said, look, in any ordinary organization, when you are faced with failure, if you're running a business and you lose $50 million, you don't just say, hey, everything's great, let's keep doing it. No, you sit down and say, what are we doing wrong? And at that meeting, I turned to Mitch McConnell then and I said, look, we spent the last 2 years with a handful of Republicans joining with Democrats to pass the Democrat agenda. And I said, maybe that's a good idea. I don't think it is, but Someone could make the argument that's a good idea.
It is time to resign. You know why? Because it's time to stop wasting taxpayer dollars on everybody else's issues. The most pressing national security risk right now that the United States is facing is whatever's going on at the southern border. Whether it's the fentanyl, whether it's the drunk drivers, whether it's general criminals, cartels, human smuggling rings, and of course the terror threat that now looms. Who knows who's crossing over that southern border and from where? That is the number one most pressing crises that the nation faces. Yet this bill focuses on everybody else's problems except for domestic issues. $98 billion of this bill goes to spending money abroad, also funding both sides of a particular conflict that's happening right now in the Middle East. I wonder how that's going to work. Definitely not going to further perpetuate the conflict by essentially arming both sides. They claim it's humanitarian aid. Yeah, we know what happens when we send Gaza humanitarian aid. The money or the materials get spent on building rockets to then fire into frickin' Israel. Anyways, this bill can be described as only one thing: America last priority. That's the frickin' issue with the bill. Donald Trump is sabotaging this bipartisan piece of legislation. Bipartisan how? Republicans will never pass it. It's dead on arrival, but it's bipartisan somehow. And how exactly is it a border security bill? I mean, for Pete's sakes, what you see on screen, is this not comedy? Is this not a joke? Bipartisan border security bill that would, quote, also provide aid to Israel. No, I'm pretty sure this is a foreign wars bill that would also further expand the asylum process. Holy frickin' moly. I mean, it's unfrickin' believable. Nobody ever talks about what's in the bill. They simply name the title of the bill and then promote nonsense propaganda. Republicans are against border security. It's not a border security bill. And if they're not lying by omission, omitting the actual contents of the bill, and just relying on the name, well then they'll actually change the name of the bill in order to continue to push nonsense, garbage propaganda. Remember when they took the parental rights in education bill that did exactly that and dubbed it the Don't Say Gay bill? This is what they do. They're incredible liars. The bill sucks. It puts everybody's priorities ahead of yours. In other words, billions of American taxpayer dollars being spent on other people's problems. Meanwhile, American citizens who pay taxes into the system continue to suffer. Meanwhile, young children will still be getting human trafficked at the southern border, just like Joe Biden likes it. And of course, the media will continue to gaslight you into frickin' oblivion. Those are the facts. There's a media narrative, a Democrat narrative, which tends to be the same or at least quite interchangeable. Then there's the rhino establishment narrative, which is trying to pull a fast one on you, pretending they're doing something for border security, but really they're just continuing to fund endless wars. The whole thing's a frickin' scam, and the only person actually looking out for America are all the Republicans who are siding with Donald Trump, not to put election issues first, but to put America first. It's not just a slogan, it is a way of being, a way of thinking. This bill is garbage. Mitch McConnell's approval rating is freaking 6%. Mitch McConnell should resign already. He doesn't represent the popular interest of Republican voters. He does not have your interest at heart and is pursuing a wildly different legislative agenda. He must resign. Donald Trump is right. And so I guess what day is it today? As I'm recording this, it's Wednesday. Just another regular Wednesday, I guess. Democrats are lying, Republican Party self-own and self-sabotage, and Donald Trump is right. Yep, pretty much just a typical Wednesday. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.